Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopidana Vallabha Girivanadhari Gopidana Vallabha Girivanadhari Sodanana Braja Janaranjana Sodanana Braja Janaranjana Shamuna Tirha Vanachari Jamuna Tirha Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopidana Vallabha Girivanadhari Gopidana Vallabha Girivanadhari Sodanana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tirha Vanachari Yamuna Tirha Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopidana Vallabha Girivanadhari Gopidana Vallabha Girivanadhari Sodanana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tirha Vanachari Yamuna Tirha Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishupad Brahmhangsa Prabhadakacharya Asadhara Sadushi Srimad. His Divine Grace Shalasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Harival. Glories to these own devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskatyade Sitarane Om Agana Tivanandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapara Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Purijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vasakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvyevacha Patidanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 11. Swayambhuva Manu advises Dhruva Maharaj to stop fighting. Text number 1. Maitreya Vacha Nishamya Gadatam Evam Rishinam Danushi Dhruva Sandade Stram Upasristya Yanarayana Nirmitam Maitreya Vacha Nisamya Gadatam Evam Rishinam Danushi Dhruva Sandade Stramupaspristya Yanarayana Nirmitam. Yuvacha Samga Garatame Shri Guva. And today Sramupasprishya Yanarayana Nirmitam Trayuvacha Ishamya Garatamevam Shinam Danushi Dhruva Day Stramupasprishya Yanarayana Nirmitam Maitreya Vacha Samya Garatam Evam Nam Danushi Dhruva Hide Sramapasprisha Yanarayana Nirmitam Vacha Samya Garatam Evam Shrinam Danushi Dhruva Sandade Sramapasprisha Yanarayana Nirmita. Ladies, Shamya Garatam Evam Shrinam Danushi Dhruva Sandade Sramapasprisha Yanarayana Nirmitam Maitreya Vacha Shamya Garatam Evam Vishunam Danushi Dhruva Sandade Sramapasprisha Yanarayana Nirmitam Maitreya Uvacha. The sage Maitreya continued to speak. Ishamya, having heard, Garatam, the words, Evam, thus, Rishinam, of the sages, Danushi, upon his bow, Dhruva Maharaj, Sandade, fixed, Astram, an arrow, Upasprisya, after touching water, Yat, that which, Narayana, by Narayan, Nirmitam, was made. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Shri Maitreya said, my dear Vidura, when Dhruva Maharaj heard the encouraging words of the great sages, he performed the Achman by touching water, and then took up his arrow made by Lord Narayan and fixed it upon his bow. Please repeat. Shri Maitreya said, my dear Vidura, when Dhruva Maharaj heard the encouraging words of the great sages, he performed the Achman by touching water, and then took up his arrow made by Lord Narayan and fixed it upon his bow. Purport. Dhruva Maharaj was given a specific arrow made by Lord Narayan himself, and he now fixed it upon his bow to finish the illusory atmosphere created by the yakshas. As it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita 7:14, Mameva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. Without Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, no one is able to overcome the action of the illusory energy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also given us a nice weapon for this age, as stated in the Bhagavatam, Sango Pangastra. In this age, the Narayan Astra, or weapon to drive away Maya, is the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra in pursuance of the associates of Lord Chaitanya, such as Advaita Prabhu, Nityananda, Gadadhar, and Srivas. So the text again. Maitreya vacha nishamya garatam evam rishinam danushi dhruva sandade stram upasprisya yanarayana nirmitam. Sri Maitreya said, my dear Vidura, When Dhruva Maharaj heard the encouraging words of the great sages, he performed the Achman by touching water, and then took up his arrow made by Lord Narayan and fixed it upon his bow. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatundeve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskadyade Satarane. Here it mentions about illusion. As we know, our primary illusion is that we're thinking ourselves to be something or someone that we're actually not. So that's quite a powerful illusion. But in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, by Lord Krishna's words, at least part of that illusion can be understood. First of all, we have to understand we're in illusion before we can get out of illusion. And without getting out of illusion to a small amount, we can't actually understand we're in illusion. The words of Bhagavad Gita, as Krishna says, that advaishate chaya imam dharmam sampadam aviyam jnana jagnena tenaham ishtak swam iti me mati. That for one who studies this conversation, he worships me by his intelligence. In other words, in order to properly understand what Krishna says, we have to use our intelligence. Of course, what intelligence is, that we may not know. One man is asking another man and asking him, "Are you intelligent?" And he's checking his pocket to see if there's any money there. The idea being, if there's any money, he must be intelligent. And if there's no money, then he can't be intelligent. But that's how the intelligence that Krishna is explaining in Bhagavad Gita. That intelligence begins with his words, Denosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara tata dahantra praptir dhiryas tatra namuyati. As the embodied soul is gradually changing his body from boyhood to youth and then to old age, so similarly the soul will enter into another body at the time of death. The self-realized souls are not bewildered by all these different changes. So many different changes are going on in our life and with our body, and yet we ourselves, we're conscious of all these different changes. We're always the same person. Therefore, we're conscious of the changes, but we're not conscious of the person who's undergoing all the changes. That is called illusion. The fact that in spite of the fact that we're always the same person, and in spite of the fact that we can see that we're not changing, in spite of all the changes that the body and the mind are going through, still we think we're this body and mind. That's our introduction to illusion. But that's not the end of illusion. That's only the beginning of understanding what kind of illusion we're under. Krishna further explains that illusion in many different ways, such as dhyayato vishayan pumsam sangas te shubhajayate sangas sanjayate kama krodo bhajayate kroda bhavati samoha samaha smriti vibram sat smriti bram sat buddhinasho buddhinashat pranashati. That the soul by nature is full of knowledge. Not that we know everything, but in our original state, we certainly know more than we presently know. Considering that we're an illusion and that we're misidentifying ourselves with this body, we know less than nothing. That is, to think oneself to be something that one is not, that is less knowledge than not knowing anything. To get something wrong all the time, perpetually, since time immemorial, means that we're less than foolish. And because we don't know who we are, and because we don't know what to do, namely to become happy, truly happy, or at least peaceful, therefore we're looking around for something to make us happy and peaceful. Most of us have experienced that, at least generally speaking, people are looking pumsa striya maituni bhavang etam, that there's an attraction between men and women. Naturally, when one thinks himself to be pumsa, to be male, then he's looking for something to satisfy his desire to be a male, namely a female. And a female is naturally looking for something to satisfy the identification of female. One is looking for male. And on the basis of that attraction, the rest of the illusion just expands and expands and expands. Namely, ahang mameti, pungsa striya maituni bhavang etang, tura mitya grantamahu, ato griya kshetra sutapta veter, janasya moho yang ahang mameti. This is I am male, I am female, and of course, as soon as we identify ourselves as male and female, as soon as we identify ourselves with this body, then I'm an American, I'm Russian, I'm Indian, I'm black, I'm white, I'm rich, I'm poor, I'm so many things. And then it expands on the basis of I am, and those things that I have, they belong to this body. But if we're not the body, then it's simply expanding our illusion. Simple to see, intellectually at least, to those who are listening, that true, my body's changing, but I'm not changing. That means I'm eternal. According to Krishna's definition in Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. When one realizes that he's eternal, he becomes joyful. So how many of us have heard Deno Sminita Dehe, that the body's changing, but the soul is not changing? And how many of us have become completely joyful after hearing this? Because after all, we've just heard we're going to live forever. We're not 20 years old. We're not 50 years old. We're not 80 years old. We're eternal. Unfortunately, we hear that, we understand it to some extent, and it doesn't make any difference to our illusion, or a very small difference, little difference to our illusion. We still think we're 20 years old or 50 years old. True, the body is 20, the body is 50, the body may be 80, but we ourselves have nothing to do with the body. How many people enter into a car and they find out that the car is 10 years old? And then they find out they feel like they're in a young car. And they ask the person who's driving next to them, how old is your car? It doesn't make a difference. But we ourselves, due to this illusion, we think that as the body changes, that we're growing older. But we haven't changed since time immemorial. What do you care? Do you check your car every year and have a birthday party for your car? My car is 10 years old. Put it, the birthday cake in back of the car turn the car on so the exhaust can blow out the candles. Or my car is 20 years old. Now it can vote. No, we don't care how old the car is, nor do we have a birthday for the car. And when the car dies, when it can't work anymore, no one laments, oh, my car died. And we take the car to the funeral home, and then we bury the car, and everyone cries, oh, my car died. And every year we go to the place where the car is, and we put some flowers and remember the car. It was a young car. It was only 30 years old when it died. But because we misidentify ourselves with this car, we further become entangled in this identification with the car by looking around. What will satisfy the demands of my body? Innocent enough, my body's demanding something to eat, a place to sleep, some sense gratification, some defense. It's demanding these things. But what becomes entangling is that when I find something I think this is going to satisfy me, then I develop some lust. I need this. It's in my heart. I can feel. Finally, I can feel. It must be love because I'm feeling something. And then, if it actually gratifies my senses, then I become greedy. Yes, that was love. I need more of that. Yes, it was love. And then comes anger. I'm not getting more of it. It went away. It's finished. I hate. Then anger comes, frustration. And then what happens? The whole mind becomes disturbed. And a whole delusion. We invent this whole story where we're the victim. Because I'm a good person. I know I'm pure. I'm a soul. Whatever I do always has the best intentions. And therefore there must be something wrong with the world. Otherwise, how could such a good person as me find himself in so much difficulty? So that's called delusion. And that whatever fault we ever had in this world is forgotten. Whatever we did wrong, I can't remember it. Whatever everyone else did wrong, I remember perfectly well. And then we lose our intelligence. We don't understand. We understand less and less that I'm a soul, and that I'm actually meant to get liberated from this bodily concept of life. Until instead we become more and more absorbed in lust, anger, greed, delusion, forgetfulness, and bewilderment. And we think we're making progress. So this is another aspect of the illusory energy working 24 hours a day to keep us in bondage. It's not that this innocent soul entered into this gross and subtle body and is a victim and has nothing to do with the changing of the body, nothing to do with the circumstances. If there's a God, it's all his fault. Because he's the controller and I'm the victim. But actually we have our free will. We can accept intelligence coming from higher sources and stop the contemplation. Anyone can try it out. Of course, if we stop looking at the objects of the senses, it's not that Maya says, oh, you're a very nice devotee of Krishna, I give up. No, Maya will push us even harder. Oh, you're such a nice devotee of Krishna, you deserve a break. Relax a little bit. It'll take you a while before you see Krishna. There's so many other nice things to see too. Have a look. Just have a peek. It's all right. I'll protect you. Just like Vishwamrita Muni, he was meditating for 60,000 years, trying to become self-realized, trying to get second initiation, trying to come to the mode of goodness. And all it took was a little tingling of an ankle bell, of course from an apsara, to break his meditation. Whatever he was thinking, 60,000 years, I'm a little bored, or whatever he was thinking, I'll just take a peek. But 60,000 years was not enough to stop his ultimately becoming attracted to contemplating the objects of the senses. And therefore, as soon as he opened his eyes, the flood of desire was quite intense. From lust to greed to 100 years with this apsara. Therefore, we should not think ourselves very powerful, that I'm a devotee, I have the Hare Krishna mantra, I can chant it any time I want, Krishna will come and protect me from my sinful reactions. No, yogas chalati manasa. As soon as one tries to make advancement on the path to self-realization, Maya, she's very expert. She'll try to trick one by so many different types of allurements. Although the allurements are generally always the same. Here's a little wealth, use it for your power and prestige. And if you want, have a little sense gratification to go with it. Just to confirm that you're actually potentially Narayan or Radharani or Lakshmi Devi. So it always comes down to the same thing, as Prabhupada writes in Srimad Bhagavatam. Women and wealth are generally allurements that are quite attractive in this world. Otherwise, how could they have captured, since time immemorial, innumerable living entities? They shouldn't be taken as something small or insignificant. Women, of course, women means for men there is women, and for women are men. That is objects of enjoyment. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as it's stated here, he's given us the Narayan Astra in the form of the chanting Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Of course, as most of us know, chanting Hare Krishna is not as simple as it seems. We can chant what seems to be like the Hare Krishna mantra, but if it was actually the Hare Krishna mantra, then it would actually give us the experience that is described in the literature that the Hare Krishna mantra is supposed to give us. Namely, it's supposed to give us direct perception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with his internal energy, namely the unlimited bliss potency, awareness potency, and eternality potency. Of course, without experiencing these potencies, at least to some extent, none of us would remain in the Hare Krishna movement for very long. No one could simply chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. For instance, on beads, chanting on beads, 16 rounds a day for so many years, unless there was something to the Hare Krishna mantra. There are 3 stages of chanting, namely Nama Parad, Nama Bas, and Shuddhanam. At the stage of Nama Parad, there is not correct knowledge about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, nor very clear understanding of what our relationship is with Him. What's that? That's Nama Parad. Generally, those who are impersonalists or Mayavadis, they chant at the Nama Parad stage. And those devotees who don't try to avoid the 10 offenses also chant at the Namaparad stage. And therefore there's little, if no effect, for such chanting. And, of course, there may even be a growth of the weeds of that choke the tree or the creeper of devotion, such as jiva-hingsa, violence towards other living entities, puja, desire for worship, pratishta, false prestige, jiva-hingsa, what's the other ones? What's that? Kutinati, which is, what's that? Duplicity. And there's another one there too. Jiva-hingsa, kutinati, and nishidachara, not activities which are against the Vedic literature, just human behavior. Puja, lava, and pratishta, desire for gain, worship, and prestige. So these grow because one will actually get an effect from the Hare Krishna mantra, and therefore one may become greedy for mundane achievements and become more offensive towards other living entities. One has to come at least to the Nam Abhas stage to gradually experience what is the actual spiritual potency of the holy name. What is the actual, what it means to actually associate with Krishna and Srimati Radharani and their associates by chanting Hare Krishna. Therefore, to come under Daivi Prakriti, the internal energy of Krishna, and get simultaneously causes knowledge and devotion to Krishna. In order to do that, we have 10 offenses, which we chant in many temples around the world every day, including the first one, that to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives in propagation of the holy name of the Lord. Especially in the Chaitanya Bhagavat by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, he emphasizes, Vrindavan Das Thakur, this offenses against the Vaishnavas. As soon as they're the Vaishnava aparad, then it is practically impossible to experience the effect of chanting Hare Krishna. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised us that whoever we meet, Yari Deka Tarikaha Krishna Upadesh Amar Aga Guruhana Tari Desh. Whoever you meet, you try to tell them something about Krishna. This is the platform of non-offensiveness. If we identify myself as Gopi Bharata Pada Kamalayor Dasa Dasa Anudasa, then I must be connected with a servant of Krishna in parampara. And what is the business of a servant? My master in parampara is to teach me how to serve the other servants of Krishna in parampara. Is to give me the knowledge, the spiritual intelligence, discrimination, and expertise how to help other devotees make advancement in devotional service, either by respecting them within my mind or by associating with them and engaging in the 6 loving exchanges of offering gifts in charity and accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind and confidence, and asking questions, and accepting prasad and offering prasad. So to the devotees who are serious about following the instructions coming from Krishna, and therefore they worship the deity either in the temple in the form of the holy name, then I associate with them and I serve them by helping them advance in devotional service. And to those who are advanced in undeviated devotional service, and whose hearts are devoid of the propensity to criticize others, then I learn from them how to become a better servant of the devotees by whoever I meet 24 hours a day. I help them advance in devotional service by telling them about something about Krishna, by offering them assistance in their service to Krishna, somehow or another becoming a servant of the Vaishnavas. In this way, then I learn in cooperation how to make others Vaishnavas also by offering them the gift of Krishna consciousness. Either the holy name, or prasadam, or the written kirtans in the form of Srila Prabhupada's books, or I tell them something about Krishna. Somehow or another, help people become Krishna conscious. And for those who are envious of Krishna, who have no desire at all to glorify Krishna or associate with Krishna or his devotees, on the contrary, they're determined to stop the glorification of Krishna or to deviate others from the glorification of Krishna or the service of Krishna, I try to avoid them as much as possible. Upeksha. In this way, we can come to the liberated platform by performing devotional service and stop contemplating the objects of the senses. Stop trying to become the lords of material, imagine ourselves to be the lords of material nature, here to enjoy the senses of this body and the mind. Instead, to become absorbed in associating one with Krishna's representatives and their instructions and carrying them out with the body, mind, and words. Iha yasya haradasye karmana manasa gira nikilas vyavavav sapsu jivan mukta uchate. That anyone who's utilizing his body, his mind, and words in this Sankirtan movement without deviation, then he's known as a Jiva Mukta. He becomes liberated in this lifetime. And from the liberated platform, when we chant Hare Krishna, we'll begin to feel Krishna's presence. When our mind is peaceful, when our senses are satisfied, when we're not agitated, then we actually become receptive to the holy name. And therefore we can feel Krishna's presence and we become aware of how Krishna is present in his name, how Srimati Radharani and their associates are present. Then one can begin to see everyone and everything as in their relationship to Krishna, and one knows perfectly, well, gradually Krishna gives the intelligence and the expertise how to perform better and better the service in the Sankirtan movement. But unless we accept wholeheartedly the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, unless we actually agree that that's my mission, unless we go beyond simply personal sense gratification or comfort, or unless we simply endlessly try to investigate the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, unless we can accept the liberated platform of a second-class devotee and attempt to spread Krishna consciousness 24 hours a day, whoever we meet, whether it be our wife or husband, our children, our friends, or people on the street or the devotees, unless we're prepared to sacrifice this life for the Sankirtan movement, then the sweet taste of the holy name will not be revealed to us because we remain on the mundane platform. The mundane platform means mundane conception of life. And the holy name, Krishna, may bestow upon us freedom from misery to some extent, or material comfort, or satisfy our inquisitiveness, or even hopes of liberation. but will not reveal the sweet taste of the holy name. Will not reveal the sweet taste of personally associating with Krishna and his energies, his personal associates. Therefore, we have to take the Sankirtan mission seriously. It is part of the process of Krishna consciousness. It is not that there is something called Krishna's Leelas, as described in Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leelas, as described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and they're all separate Leelas, and we can choose whatever Leela we want. No, they all have a purpose. They're all systematically performed in order to help us assimilate their teachings, take shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, to actually understand the value of Krishna and his Leelas, and especially the chanting of Hare Krishna. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Comments? Yes.
Especially those who are managers, those who have service for management, they find it difficult.
I don't think it's working. There it goes.
Hare Krishna. Especially those who are having the service of management, managers services, those devotees who have, they find it a little difficult how to define what is constructive criticism or what is destructive criticism, because they have to deal with devotees and how to understand.
How can a manager understand what's constructive and destructive criticism? Well, that takes intelligence. So therefore, if we don't understand, therefore we shouldn't say anything. We have to humbly investigate through Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, and when it's clear, then we can do. If we're in the mood of service to the devotees, and we want to know how to properly serve, then Krishna is there in the heart, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra are there, so therefore we investigate. And when everything is clear, then we can act. Otherwise, we shouldn't act. Constructive criticism is necessary, is helpful, but we should know what constructive criticism is. Then we can criticize constructively. And it'll have a positive effect. And it'll help us and it'll help the others too. Generally, it may take different forms. Destructive criticism may be just simply enviousness. We just randomly criticize people without any purpose. So that's persons who hear such criticism, they're subjected, if they accept what we're saying, they become subjected to our enviousness too.
You cannot forsake the envy. Envy is always, as long as you are a human being, there is envy of small, big, some size of envy is always.
No, in constructive criticism, there's love.
Love.
Yeah, there has to be love.
Love mixed with the envy.
No, it has to be love. Because in this Kali Yuga, there's no love. There is only enviousness. But in Krishna consciousness, there is love. Just like the mother tells the child, out of love, to stop biting her nails or his nails. So it's criticism, but it's out of love, concern for the welfare of the child. It's not enviousness, it's love. So in this age of Kali, there's so much enviousness. There's very little love. So first of all, we should try to love the devotees. And then if that devotee, for instance, anuvegam karam vakyam sattvam priyahitam chayat swarayabhyasanam chayava vangmana tapuchite. Constructive speech, Krishna says, anuvegam, doesn't agitate people's minds. Anuvegam karam vakyam satyam. It should be truthful. Priya, it should be pleasing. Satyam priya hitam, it should be beneficial. Satyam priya hitam chaya. Swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva, and it should follow the scriptural injunctions. So based on the scriptures, we should say things that are pleasing, that are truthful, that are beneficial, and don't agitate people's mind. So if it's out of love, Krishna will give us the intelligence how to do that. And then, manat prasadam somyatvam monam atma vinigraha bhava samshidi ityetad tapo manasam uchite. Then our minds will remain grave, they'll remain satisfied, they'll remain equipoised, they'll remain invigorated, they'll have all the good qualities if it's done properly. If our speech is correct, based on real intelligence, then our minds will become peaceful and other people's minds will become peaceful too.
Excuse me.
Yes.
So I have one question. Who does live among the desire? Body or soul? Or both body and soul both lives among the desire?
What was that? I can't.
हिंदी में मतलब ये मेरा प्रश्न ये है कि इच्छाओं के बीच में कौन रहता है, हमारा शरीर रहता है या आत्मा रहता है या फिर दोनों रहता है?
The mind is dead. How can the mind desire? It's the soul that desires. The mind has no. The mind is not a person. The soul's the person. But the soul, due to imperfect intelligence, doesn't know what to desire, and therefore it desires the wrong thing. Just like flowing through the mind can be a desire to go to, say, McDonald's and eat a hamburger. But the soul doesn't have to accept the desire, although the mind is flowing through the mind is that desire. On the other hand, the next moment a desire may come to go and take prasad. So the soul agrees, well, that's a much better desire. Let me go and take prasad. So it's not the mind is deciding anything, it's the soul is deciding on the basis of its intelligence. If it has intelligence, then it can desire in terms of the spirit, its relation with Krishna. Spiritually it can desire, and if it has less intelligence, it may desire in terms of its relation with this body. अब जानते हैं? अब जानते हैं? Yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj, for describing the 3 stages of chanting of holy name, Nama Prad, Nama Bhas, Sudhanam. Here is described the Narayan Astra. This is the Astra made by Narayan Rishi. So this Astra is very dangerous as well as very safe also. If somebody knows the art of safety, he can save himself very easily. Otherwise, it is very difficult. It cannot be counteracted by any means, Narayanastra. So when Dhruva released this Narayanastra, these yakshas were not knowing the art of saving themselves. So to save oneself, only one drops the astras from his hands and he takes shelter. Narayanastra will not do anything. Narayanastra will not harm anybody. Just like in Mahabharata war, Ashwathama came to know that my father was killed because he was informed, wrongly he was informed that I have been killed. So knowing that I am killed, my father stopped fighting, and in this my father was killed in the battlefield. So now Ashwathama says, I will take revenge of killing of my father. So I will release Narayanastra. Nobody knows this Astra which is given by my father in the Pandava army. So Ashwathama was not knowing that Arjuna and Krishna are Narayan themselves. So they have made this Astra. So when he released this Narayan Astra, So Arjuna and Krishna directed everybody to release their arms, all the weapons, and take shelter. So all these soldiers, they dropped their weapons and they took shelter. So Narayanastra was not doing anything, but Bhima was not knowing. Bhima was ready to fight. So many arrows with golden feathers surrounded the chariot of Bhimsen. Arjuna and Krishna both went inside the chariot and forcibly dropped his weapons, and then Arjuna and Krishna brought Bhimsen out of this danger. So this is very easy to become safe from Narayanastra.
Yes. But we don't want to, for the Narayanastra in this age, we don't want protection. We want shelter. All right, thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande Haribo.